All right, for today's deep dive, we're tackling something I think is genuinely puzzling in the UK housing market right now.
You're talking about the two-speed market.
Exactly. We're seeing this paradox where prices are stalling, even falling in some places, yet negotiations are getting tougher and sales are still happening. So our mission is to, cut through that noise.
It's the perfect way to frame it. You've essentially got two stories playing out. The high-value, prime London segments are, well, they're really struggling.
They're the weak link.
The weak link, for sure. But then the more affordable markets and pretty much most of the regional areas are proving to be remarkably resilient.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's start with the faster side of the market. What's happening outside of the capital?
Things are surprisingly steady. I mean, some regional markets saw increases of, 4 to 6% in 2025?
And even in some parts of London, right? I saw that affordable boroughs like Havering were up over 5%.
That's right. So buyers are definitely still active, but, and this is a key point, they are really challenging what they see as, let's say, optimistic asking prices.
Right. And then you have the other side of the coin, prime London.
And that's where the story just completely flips. It was the weakest performing region in the entire UK last year.
The weakest.
By far. You're seeing sharp declines in the City of London, Westminster, Kensington, and Chelsea. Some of those areas posted double-digit annual falls.
Wow. I read that average values in Kensington and Chelsea have slipped to about 1.1 million.
Yeah, and that's a level we haven't seen in a decade.
A decade. So you're talking about going back to 2015 prices. What does that do to the human element? The home movers who assumed they had all this equity built up.
Well, they're feeling the most strain, definitely, especially those trying to move up the ladder. It also connects directly to why this specific prime market is struggling so much.
Like it's more exposed?
It's much more susceptible to things like political risk, global uncertainty, and, of course, higher taxes.
Okay, let's talk about those taxes. The new fiscal burden seems specifically targeted at this exact segment.
Oh, exactly. The market is adjusting to a pretty unfavorable environment. There's a new council tax supplement on properties over £2 million.
And it's not a small fee, is it?
Not at all. It starts at £2,500 a year, and it climbs pretty quickly to $7,500 for homes worth $5 million or more.
So when you add that to the already high stamp duty, it's a real disincentive.
It is. Now, analysts will say this is part of a longer cycle, that it all started cooling after the 2016 Brexit referendum. One even called it a boom-bust sea change moment for London.
A sea change. So that's about more than just tax. That's about London's fundamental appeal changing.
That's the idea. The perception might be that it's lost some of its gloss as that sort of undisputed, safe global city for capital.
And this is where it gets really interesting on the ground, because you can see this pressure playing out in negotiations.
The bargaining power has completely shifted.
It has. A broker told us about a client who just had to drop their asking price by £50,000. Not because they needed the money, but just to hold their onward chain together.
And that explains something else we're seeing, the boom in bridging finance.
Right, which sounds like a good thing, but it's not out of exuberance, is it?
No, it's driven by a need for certainty. It's an emergency stopgap for when you've found the home you want, but your own high-value property just isn't selling.
So wrapping this up, what does the outlook for 2026 look like? More of the same.
All signs point to yes. Forecasters expect this segmentation to continue, with London probably underperforming the rest of the country, maybe 1% growth versus 2 or 3% nationally.
So that leaves a really interesting bigger picture question for you to think about.
It does. If prime locations are more sensitive to this kind of risk, and if London has, maybe lost some of that global appeal since the mid-2010s peak, how has the very definition of a safe global asset changed for international investors? Are they now looking at Berlin or New York or Paris instead? That's the real question.